A little bit about Dr. Benjamin Patrick. He has received a doctorate in homeopathy and also bioresonance. Okay, right? So he really and truly know his stuff. Okay, right? So without much further ado, please help me welcome Dr. Benjamin Patrick online. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin.
Hi, thanks so much for the introduction. Thank you, Victor. I'm so glad to be a part of this journey because it's the first time we've been able to infuse both technologies, bioresonance and natural remedy, into one fantastic product. And I'm so glad to be on board this because we're still doing more and more research into this product and how it can help with various diseases and conditions. And I'm just so excited. I don't know about everyone else. I'm so glad that you guys are here as well. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions after this session. But I would like to share to you a little bit about copper. Now, if you know, copper has been used for more than 4,500 years. And it's been used by queens and nobility because of its properties to help with anti-aging, for skin conditions, also with general well-being of the mind. And copper is used basically even as a distilling agent or distiller for essential oils. So long ago, they've already discovered that copper works well with oils or anything that is natural. Now, copper alone carries a frequency of about 923 hertz. And that itself is a positive energy that is able to help our cells in our body raise the bar to a point where we are energetically healthy. Now, a normal energetic body is normally around 78 megahertz. And for you to be constantly in a healthy state, you need to keep that energy stable throughout the day. And the body also recognizes copper as an essential mineral. Our cells recognize it as an essential mineral, so it's not hazardous. Everything that is used in its proper concoction and its proper dosage is valuable and is good. So we're here to talk about this fantastic product of iDefender, and it's going to hit the world like a storm, and it already has. I've already heard of people now trying to build copper plates inside air conditions to make sure that there's no mold developing inside the systems in the aircon, and people are just going crazy on this thing called colloidal copper. Now, how things have changed. Let's talk about how things have changed in times. Going to this next slide, we will look at what has robbed us from this health that we're talking about, being energetically healthy, being able to walk out and meet people, social interaction. Suddenly something happened and it changed the world. One small microscopic virus changed the entire world, how we relate with people, how we do business, economics, and some of us have been robbed of our freedoms or being able to do whatever we want to do, whenever we want to do. So let's talk about how this has impacted our life. Now, looking at airborne viruses history now is it's not something new. We have been in eras of pandemics over hundreds of years, and looking and studying from the 1900s itself, we looked at approximately 50 million deaths from just the Spanish flu. Then the Asian flu came into the picture. Why did they call it the Asian flu? Because apparently it was first discovered in Asia, the influenza A virus. If you notice that we didn't know that Corona hit us, because at that point of time, we were still talking about Corona as though it was some kind of avian flu part 2 or part 3, and it's only of later stage only they discovered that there was an outbreak and maybe possibly coming out from Wuhan, and then going into details how this virus has evolved into so many different variants. As you can look at this description here that we are showing you, many people have died from various pandemics before. This is not the first time the world has been hit by a pandemic. Let's go to the next slide. Looking at airborne viruses history here. So it's not uncommon for us to have an airborne viruses. But how do we cope with this virus? Now, 4,500 years ago, people were coping with viruses by using plates or using utensils and using surfaces that were layered with copper. So that's one interesting thing I just want to leave behind with you. So the solution was there from the beginning. People discovered this very early. And all we're doing is we are creating a product that is easily available, nanoparticle size, so it targets the bacteria, and it does not cause any damage to the human cell. Now, what are some COVID-19 facts? Now, we want to learn a little bit about COVID. Total cases for more than 213 million worldwide since 24 August. Total deaths for more than 4.5 million people. Total cases in Malaysia are more than 1.5 million to date. Total deaths in Malaysia are more than 14,500. Now, the virus deaths and casualties are not going down, they keep going up, right? What we need is a solution. Now, coronavirus can make babies seriously ill. Now, a lot of countries around the world are concerned, especially in Australia right now, as the epidemic or the pandemic has already hit children. And there are no beds in the hospitals for children anymore because there are too many casualties who are adults. So they're sending the kids home to be quarantined at home. So parents are gone frantic because they can't work. They need to look after the kids at home. Now, this has created a bigger problem and now a worry and concern that their children are going to die. So we need a solution. We need it fast, and we've got one coming up for you. Now, people who don't have symptoms can spread the virus, right? The permissibility of this virus, even after being vaccinated, is still being studied. So just to let you know, just by getting a double shot of vaccine doesn't guarantee you that you will not get the virus and you will not pass it on to somebody else. You may be even already affected and don't even know about it. And the symptoms right now are asymptomatic, which means they don't portray any adverse or any chronic type of symptom to say that you have the coronavirus. I was just walking into a clinic the other day and someone sneezed and everybody panicked, everybody jumped. So I thought it was a funny thing because at that point, 2 years ago, nobody cared if someone sneezes. Now everybody panics when someone sneezes or coughs in the room. Now the person may be just having an allergy, but he may be labeled coronavirus victim. So now looking at all of this, come to a conclusion that the vaccine is not enough to protect us. We need to take things into our hands and do more to protect our family and our loved ones. So let's go to the next slide. We're looking at the next slide. Talking to you about the different variants. I think in this generation we have learned more Greek and Latin than the other generations. Because you look at it here, you see different variants and alpha, beta. Nobody could understand what is alpha and beta. They didn't know it was an alphabet. And today we have an alphabet for every variant, right up to K, Kappa. And Kappa is the latest, and Iota is two of the latest strains. And again, it's not for us to actually label them based on countries, even though we may discover that this variant was first discovered in that country. It's not good to teach our children and say to our children, oh, this is the Indian variant, or that's a Chinese variant, that's an American thing, but not all Americans agree with it, okay? I'm sure Steve and Todd doesn't agree with that. What we need to teach our children is how do we keep ourselves healthy and protected against such a virus? Is to keep ourselves ready to take on, to overcome. The solution is with us. Once we start to put the trust and the solution in somebody else's hands, then fear takes over. But you can stop where you are today and start to take action by saying, I'm going to do something about this. I'm not going to wait for someone else to do it. I'm going to do something about this. Okay, here are some of the suggestions that we have, things that you can do even at home, things that you can do in your office, things that you can do in your school, to suggest and to protect your children and to preserve the energy in the room. Now, we all know that these variants, different variants can actually stay on surfaces for longer periods of time. Doorknobs, faucets, these are the things we take for granted every day. Opening up the door in the bank, touching the keypad on the ATM. But all these things are susceptible for transfer of the virus. So how do we keep ourselves clean? I'm tired of using sanitizers, alcohol sanitizers that are ruining my fingers, my skin, making our skin shrivel up. We can only take so much alcohol. Those days people drink alcohol, nowadays they apply all over their skin. So looking at this, the virus can stay on paper for 3 hours. So imagine if you do half your work on paper, each paper has a possibility for transmissibility rate. Cardboards, 24 hours. All your parcels coming by all the Shopee, Lazada, and all that, all coming in boxes. Every time you touch a box, you see, wood, 2 days. Looking at wood, 2 days. Fabric, 2 days. Stainless steel, 3 days. Plastics, 3 days. Paper currency, 4 days. How not to use money? Face masks, 7 days. Can you imagine? If you think your face mask is protecting you right now, it's not enough. You need a shield, and need a plastic shield. And apart from that also, you need to be able to create an air bubble of protection around you. We'll talk about it in a minute. It is a world pandemic and it's out of control. Do you agree? Now, let's look at what else do we have to say about this virus. Nature has given us resources to fight bacteria and viruses. Now, I talked to you about 4,500 years of history of using colloidal silver, colloidal copper in order on surfaces in order to repel and make sure that the viruses don't inhibit or they don't multiply. Now, copper has been used for many, many years as an antiviral, antimicrobial, and antibacterial solution, because copper can destroy undesirable microorganisms, bacteria, and viruses, including coronavirus. What it does is it disrupts the protective layers of the organisms and interferes with its vital processes. What does that mean? When we communicate through vibration called sound, and those words that come in and out of our mouths enter into the ears of the person. It's not words, but actually vibrations. So I want to let you know that vibrations are carried out through sound and light. That's energy. Everything around us is energy, and everything vibrates at a specific rate. And that's what allows us to distinguish what it is, And through sonar, we're able to distinguish objects as well. So our body does the same thing. It's only that we don't realize it, how our body senses things. Everything is through energy receptors. And these energy receptors measure the rate of vibration in everything that is around us. Our olfactory sensory, we have an olfactory sensory that is in our nasal cavity that gives information to the brain about smells that we receive. All this is proof that our body depends so much on vibrational energies, and these vibrational energies actually interact with one another. And by creating the right vibrational frequency around us, right, we're able to not just protect ourselves through a biofield, but we're also able to repel certain microorganisms that are vibrating at a negative field. Now, copper in ancient times, Egyptian times, they used copper vessels to keep water fresh. A study found that SARS-CoV-2, the virus responsible for corona pandemic, is no longer infectious on copper within 4 hours, whereas it can survive on plastic surfaces for 72 hours. Now, if you keep plastics in your fridge, just imagine, transmissibility rate, old food being kept in plastic containers inside your fridge. What it can contain. Copper has many applications in hospitals and other places where germs are likely to spread. Now, this is another evidence that copper is safe because it's also safe to be used in hospitals. Now, what are the other benefits of copper? And what are some of the renowned agencies of the day, especially two agencies here I can fairly say that I know is the EPA and the NIH. And I believe there's another organization here, which I wrote here, that has backing to the information. One is the NSF, International which is an American product testing, inspection, and certification organization based in Michigan. And the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, an independent executive agency of the United States federal government tasked with environmental protection matters. So I just want to give you these two. The other notes is NIH, which is the National Library of Medicine, and Insider Health is pretty much what a lot of doctors go to read on new articles and new technologies and explanations on how medicines are used properly and how different approach of health can be used in and advised. And we also have the news, medical life sciences, which is a journal. These are all journals, medical journals. So I can go on talking to you about how much medical journals have mentioned how copper is used and how copper is used in addition to even essential oils. There's so many writings, and you can even Google online to find out about how copper is used together with what kind of essential oils are good to be used with copper. I wish to do one more session just on that, so just to educate and inform you, so that you use the right essential oils in order to bring balance and a harmonic wave into your home. Now, introducing iDefender INC. Now, you're all probably familiar about this product. iDefender INC is the immediate solution I feel to our everyday movements and protection. iDefender creates an air bubble of these particles, nanoparticles that are diffused into the air that remain there for a certain time, but it also creates an energy field. Once those particles begin to drop down to the surface, it still maintains an energetic field. And if it's used together with even essential oils, it is double powered. And let's talk about the product. INC stands for Ionic Nano Copper. The active ingredient in INC is ionized copper in an inorganic matrix which promotes a controlled release of nano-sized copper ions. That means when we diffuse it, it's coming out at a rate that is safe, that's reliable, that you're able to breathe and not get affected by it. So it's registered and certified by the NSF. I just talked about it, the EPA. INC disinfectant is proven effective in disinfecting COVID-19. Now there's so many studies. There are these 3 studies that I can mention that have done this test to prove that this is effective on the virus, and it is not in any way harmful to the human body. So let's look at the next slide. Nano copper and particles. Nano copper actually is small enough to affect even minor proteins and flu viruses. We talked about the spike proteins, and we talked about even the flu viruses, and in this case, we're talking about COVID. The nano particle is sized enough to be able to penetrate and to destroy COVID, but it's not sized big enough to cause any damage to the human lungs or to the eyes or to the body, right? You will need to drink or probably blow up nano copper, 1,000 or 8,000 bottles at one time in order to cause any incident, as far as I can understand, because we've done so much research into how metals are able to resonate with the body, and how essential natural products used together with metals are safe enough for the body to recognize and to use abruptly and effectively. So looking at copper, it's able to also penetrate and disinfect even funguses, bacteria. It's very effective against bacteria, including E. coli and Salmonella. Now let's talk about copper, even more about copper. Copper ions on the surface are recognized as an essential nutrient as it enters the cell. Now, just like how our body recognizes copper as an essential mineral, all living objects also can recognize this essential mineral and want to accept it and receive it. But the problem is when it hits viruses, it does damage to the virus wall, thus killing it. It does the same thing to bacterial wall as well, and it's the same thing to fungus as well. Because there's something about copper that actually is like a solution of nature to get rid of negative ions, number one, or to get rid of negative influences like bacteria and viruses. A lethal dose of copper ions interferes with the normal cell functions of membrane integrity. Now, the negative ion from copper fuses with positive ion that is coming from a virus, and this causes an implosion inside the cell membrane of the virus and the bacteria. Now, copper ions impede also cell respiration and metabolism, sometimes causing DNA damage to the viruses. This is the third thing it does to the virus. So, but if people ask me this question, if we can do so much damage to the virus, what more can it do to the human cells? But then again, you need to understand, to the human cell, nano copper particles, right, are known as an essential mineral, essential metal that the body needs. Unlike bacteria and viruses that operate differently, and their metabolism and their processes work differently. So when you infuse copper, when you allow copper to come in contact with viruses, it destroys them, but it does not harm the human body, the human cell. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to look at a video right now. I want you to
We are living in the worst public health crisis in over a century. COVID-19 has swept through the world, causing more fear, pain, and death than most have experienced in our entire lives. As of May 15th, 2021, there have been over 163 million diagnosed COVID cases, and the number continues to grow every minute. COVID has left most of us living in a state of anxiety. Seniors and individuals with comorbidities are frightened to leave their home, even to purchase food. This begs the question, how can we protect ourselves beyond washing our hands and wearing a mask? The answer may be as simple as iDefender Ink. Ink is short for Ionic Nano Copper. Let me explain how iDefender Ink could save your life. Since early civilization, copper has been used to sterilize water and prevent infections. People in India and Turkey have been proclaiming the health benefits of copper for centuries. At the start of the 21st century, Professor Bill Keevil, the Director of Environmental Health Care Units at Southampton University, started studying the effectiveness of killing bacteria, viruses, and germs with copper. The study found that copper ions get in the bacterial cells and inhibit their reproduction. He also discovered that the copper attacks the DNA and RNA of a virus, thereby making the gene transfer no longer possible. The list of organisms that copper can kill includes coronavirus, the flu, MSRA, E. coli, norovirus, and antibiotic-resistant strains of staph. So how does it work? The process is called ionic disposition. When a bacteria or virus lands on copper, the organism recognizes copper as an essential nutrient and begins to absorb it. As more copper is absorbed, the ionic copper dose becomes increasingly lethal, thereby destabilizing the organism's electrical current, effectively causing a short circuit. This breaks down the protective membrane and allows more copper to enter. This ultimately results in the destruction of the organism's DNA and RNA. The entire process can be achieved in as little as a few minutes. iDefender Ink has been clinically tested and proven to inhibit up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, including H1N1, H2N3, SARS, MERS, coronavirus, as well as bacteria, mold and mildew, and fungus that live all around us. Our formula is registered with the United States EPA as a hospital disinfectant and is also NSF certified to achieve 99.9% sanitization of food in less than 60 seconds. You no longer need to worry about who touched the apple before you purchased it. Just clean with iDefender and keep your family safe from unwanted germs. Put a few drops of iDefender in your diffuser and go. Use iDefender in your kitchen, nursery, bedroom, living room, car. Take iDefender to your office and keep yourself safe in the eye bubble. Keep your family safe anywhere, anytime. Contact your E&F Essential Distributor today to create your eye bubble.
There you have it, a simple video that explains how copper inhibits viruses and what it can do in order to protect us. Now, number one, 12 unique benefits. I'm going to talk about 12 unique benefits of this copper. Number one, it disinfects, inhibits about 99.99% of bacteria and viruses, including H1N1, H2N3, SARS virus, MERS virus, and coronaviruses. Now, number two, it sanitizes, effective against viruses and bacteria on all hard and soft surfaces. So even if you use it as a spray and you know, whenever it lands on the surfaces around you, it also preserves and protects you against the virus. So if anyone touches those surfaces, you know, generally there are less chances for them to contract this. Now, sterilizing. Yeah, it also acts as a sterilizer, creating an environment safe from bacteria and viruses, like I mentioned. EPA-registered hospital disinfectant, you know, it's used in hospitals. Copper is used in a lot of instruments in the hospitals, and therefore it is also valid to say that it is safe. NSF-certified food grade 100%, achieved 99.99% sanitization. So by spraying and diffusing this even on your fruits, veggies also is very helpful to protect your food. Now, it purifies and eliminates airborne allergens and germs when diffused into the air. And let's look at number 7, eliminates haze and smoke, kills molds and mildew. That's why I was telling you that now the manufacturers of aircons are considering putting copper plates in air conditions as well. To limit the mold that accumulates in the vent. Now, number 9, eliminates allergen, pet dander, and dust mites. Now, this is very hard to get rid of pet dander. I am a therapist here in Chadasa. I treat a lot of people who have allergies based on these things, these 3 things, allergens like pet dander and dust mites, and it's very, very hard to get rid of. So copper, using a dilution of copper that is nano size can help prevent and even cause these mites to die faster. So ionized. What does it do? As it ionizes, it freshens the indoor and outdoor air. When you electrically charge nano copper in water, it creates nano copper particles solution, and it creates an active ingredient that is able to charge and ionize the air. So it is very effective that way as well. It removes odor and stale air. If you look and if you smell the particular solution, you don't get a stale smell. But what happens when you spray that solution in the air, you start to see that the air becomes fresher. And you're wondering why. And the science behind it is, as an ionizer, it's able to effectively charge the air to create a very clean environment. Now, humidity-wise, replenishes moisture, improves humidity level for comfortable and healthier living. Extremely pleasant to be used in air-conditioned environment. There you go, 12. Now, it's registered and certified under the NSF. We have the codes here for you to take back and share with your loved ones in case they're wondering whether or not this is a legitimate document. All the codes are given here. I'm sure Victor is able to pass you these documents for you to read and share with your doctor. And let's go to the next slide. Test has been done, ICAS lab, and through this test, it has been determined that the solution is safe to be used. And it's very, very effective against the coronavirus. As you know, ICAS, a dependent lab in China. Of course, there are labs that have been done, lab tests that have been done in University Malaya as well, and lab tests that has been done by UNIMAS, one of our leading universities that actually does research into transmissibility of viruses. And the Beijing University of Technology is also a very renowned university that does intensive research into the viabilities of disinfectants. And I'm glad to tell you that iDefender has come out passing in flying colors. And also, as we go to the next slide, how to use this. Now, we've got 3 different models of the iDefender diffusers. And but what I would like to highlight here is the fact that the smaller model can also be used in cars. You can carry on you, you can place them in your car, you can switch it on, and just a few minutes of switching it on is able to sterilize the entire car. And it can create an eye bubble. We call it the eye bubble because when you spray it into the air, like I said before, copper has a property of being antibacterial, but it also has a charge. And that charge is measured in frequency. And that frequency level is highly potent against microbials that are hazardous to our health, but it's non-effective against the human, but doesn't work against the human body. So you can use this as a conversation tool to introduce to your loved ones, to your bosses, to your employers and your employees. You can probably use this as a next fad to create a fad among people, just like how wearing masks has become a new norm here. I believe in the near future, everybody is going to be using iDefender in close proximity, especially in meetings. So because I find it's natural, it's highly effective, and it creates a bioenergetic feel more than just being a natural element. So let's go to the next one, iDefender INC. The small bottle, 50 ml bottle, approximately 1,000 drops per bottle, 10 drops, 0.5 ml per pump, 2 pumps per 300 ml of water. Why is this so important? I want you to know this because a lot of people ask this question: what is the potency of having too much of nanoparticles, and that ratio? How does it affect our lungs? How does it affect our nasal cavity? The ability to does it affect the body negatively in any way? Well, we are putting such a small percentage that is diffused in an appropriate solution of water, and the ratio is in such a ratio that it's been carefully calculated to be non-hazardous to the human body. Now, recommended use of ANF approved diffusers only. Now, this we can only say to the diffusers that we are using or we are promoting right now, because tests has already been done with these diffusers, so we cannot vouch for any other diffuser. Now, it's 16,000 ppm parts per million, which is a safe range of nanocopper particles in this solution. So let's go to the next. The personal diffuser has a capacity of 15 ml, 1 to 2 drops, just 1 to 2 drops of iDefender INC can create your own personal eye bubble of protection. It's powered by USB rechargeable, so you don't have to scramble to look for AAA batteries and small batteries and this battery and that battery. Convenient to bring it everywhere you go. Spray the mist 20 minutes. That is the recommended time to use in a large place. Perfect solution when you are out from your home. Now, this is an immediate emergency tool that you may want to use and keep in your handbag or keep in your pants, your pocket at all times. Let's go to the next. The INC diffuser, 500 ml capacity, which has 3 pumps of iDefender INC. So it has a greater capacity to diffuse a coverage area up to 400 square foot, and continuous diffuse up to 6 hours. I find in a lot of diffusers, the solution runs out pretty fast, but in this one, it's been carefully calculated in order for it to go the further mile, and it goes up to about 6 hours, which I feel is pretty good. Safety features include waterless auto shut-off, which is very important. If you're wondering if it runs out of water, does it cause the pump to spoil or to rosak? It doesn't. The safety features has this special feature to shut off once it finishes the solution. Now, the Defender diffuser for 1,000 ml capacity has 7 pumps. This is like the ultimate diffuser that you want to keep in your home to infiltrate the air in every room in your house, especially when you're in a bungalow unit. Diffusers cover areas up to 1,500 square feet, suitable for home, hotel, office, classroom. Continuous diffuse up to 16 hours. So you don't have to worry about it running out. 16 hours, perfect solution to protect yourselves, loved ones in an enclosed area. Now, I'm using the diffuser here in my clinic so far, and most of my patients are very, very excited and happy because not only do they feel good the moment they come in here, I've used the diffuser for essential oil diffuser as well from the same company. And I find that it has everybody in our clinic feels good, number one. Number two, we have actually felt the difference of the air quality in the clinic as well. Even when we have ventilating fans and all that, it's something different in the energy in the room. So I can safely say that this product is the products coming from this company is very, very effective, and it carries a very positive energy.